One opinion is that every day the evil inclination is renewed. He's renewed. The other opinion is every day the evil inclination overpowers us. So what is the difference between he's renewed or he overpowers us? So the commentators explain that, as I just said, a person over time, if you're involved in the same thing, you lose interest, you tire. The evil inclination has an ability that every time he wants you to sin or he draws you towards it, he gives you a desire as if it's the first time. He's renewed. There's a renewal. For instance, eating, sexual, ego. As much a person has ego, and that ego is satisfied, it never is satisfied. It's never sated. Never. The Gemara tells us an interesting story. King David, he says to God, and separate discussion, we refer to the patriarchs, when we say the Amidah, and God himself identifies himself as such. I am Elokei Avraham. I am Elokei Yitzchak. I am Elokei Yaakov. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So David says to God, I want to be known as Elokei David. When you identify yourself as the God of David. So God says, the only way you could merit that, you have to withstand a very difficult test. And if you withstand the test, then you'll be identified as Elokei David. But I'm advising you, good advice, the likelihood that you're going to succeed is unlikely. You're probably going to fail. It's not worth it. David says, I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to give it a chance. God didn't say he definitely will fail. He says there's a stronger like you will. And what happens? He failed. What was the story? This is the story of Bathsheba. He went and he failed with Bathsheba. But how did he prepare for it? He knew it would be in the sexual area. He will fail regarding getting involved in a woman, even though it was not considered adultery, but it's something that, as a result of that, there was a semi-chil Hashem. God's, it didn't look good. For a man of David's caliber and status to be involved in that kind of act, because people didn't know all the background information, that her husband had really divorced already, and he rebelled against the king, he deserved to be put to death, and so on and so forth. Since he didn't bring it to the Sanhedrin, the High Court of Israel, to adjudicate it, it was not public knowledge exactly why he deserved to die, and that she was no longer his wife. So what did David do? Since David, before being confronted with this test, David had many wives. So he felt, years ago, if a person wanted to stop smoking, going back now 50 years ago, what did he do? He would smoke about 4 packs a day, to the point where, even though he didn't have emphysema, he was experiencing it as if he had emphysema. And he would stop smoking. And then he was going cold turkey, didn't do it. He had to overdo it, and as a result of that, he'd lose interest. So he went, and he was more involved sexually with his wives, because he felt by being more sexually involved, he'd lose interest. So therefore, regardless of what the temptation would be, he would not be tempted. That's what David did. But David made a mistake. Why? Because the Gemara says there's a small organ in a human being. The more you sate it, the more it hungers. And the more you starve it, the more it's stated. And David didn't know that reality. So therefore, the more he engaged, the more he desired it. So when he was confronted with the sexual test, he failed. So he set himself up, not knowing that doing more only increases the desire rather than minimize the desire. And withdrawing and being less involved, that sates it. You understand? Even they say logically, just the opposite. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, he comes, as much as you have of him, he always gives you a new angle. It's like you're getting involved for the first time. First time. You're fully indulgent in it. You mean you haven't had enough? Every moment it's presented, it's like the first time. That's the ability of the evil inclination. He's mischadesh. He presents it with a newness, a new angle, as if you never experienced it before. Now, how do you confront such a force? The Torah tells us, the Talmud tells us, I've created an evil inclination. The antidote is the Torah. The only antidote to deal with the evil inclination, which incapacitates him, is the Torah itself. So if the evil inclination approaches us with this newness, that even though you've been there 1,000 times or more than that, he presents it like it's the first time. So when you study Torah, in what context do you have to study it? As if it's old hat, or it's as if with a newness, as if it was given today at Sinai. So the only way the Torah has that force to be able to incapacitate him, you have to go toe to toe. As they say, you got to fight fire with fire. If you don't fight fire with fire, it's a problem. We find the Torah is compared to fire. It says, Kol Dvar K'Yishnu Hashem. The words of Torah are like fire. Fire consumes. And the Torah itself consumes everything. And the Gemara says in one location that if it's metal, it'll melt it. If it's stone, it will pulverize it. If it's water, it will evaporate it. There's nothing that the light of Torah, the fire of Torah, cannot overcome and subsume. But what has to be the intensity? The intensity it has to be something which is chadoshos. You have to value it. It's something special. It's interesting. We find there's one verse in the Torah. The Torah is very careful not repeating words. Even letters. If it could say it in a more abbreviated way, it doesn't say it in a more lengthy way. But yet there's one verse in the book about Midbar that Bnei Yisrael is mentioned 5 times in one verse. In one verse, you can use a pronoun. But you have the sons of Israel. Sons 5 times in one verse. Why? So the Medrash says, what is it analogous to? It's analogous to a king